Part of the reason, I guess, is because Raval is a neighborhood that lacks green areas. It's one of the ones that has the lowest percentage of green area square meter per resident. So racism or migration status is kind of like the underlying factor that creates vulnerability when a heat wave comes. For example, why do people live in flats in the Raval that are cut into multiple smaller flats that have no ventilation? Often without any tenants' rights, because often they don't have formal contracts, which puts them in this position of precarity where they can't ask their landlords to do any improvements, where sometimes they're told that they can't or they're not even allowed to install an air conditioning unit because that will increase the electricity cost. But also people face racism when they try to look for a flat. It's real estate racism. There's been a lot of studies showing how when people call to ask for a flat, to see a flat to rent, they are even denied access to that viewing because they might have a last name that indicates that they're not European. Another issue that is important is when there is a heat wave, for people to get access to healthcare. So you have compounded vulnerabilities. For example, if you're an old person with underlying health problems that lives in a flat with no elevator on the 5th floor, with no air conditioning, that's suffering energy poverty, and on top of it, you're a migrant and you're not registered as a resident, the city doesn't even know you exist. A lot of the residents in the Raval have organized to create spaces where they can use themselves and self-manage in order to escape the heat. These spaces are not just meant as heat shelters, they have multiple purposes, and that's the beauty of them as well, is that they bring people together to talk about the challenges that they're facing in terms of housing, in terms of childcare. So one good example was the Antiga Masana, which was a building that was occupied and served as a meeting space for people to share childcare, to create spaces for kids to be in the summer where there were no casals or no access to summer camps, what they're called. And there was also a place where the tenants union would organize. Unfortunately, this place no longer exists as such. It was taken back from the municipality. But there's also another place that is also a green area that is self-managed and created about 10 years ago, an urban garden called Agora. And this place is also not just a place where people can go to cool down during the summer, but also a place that has a community kitchen that offers food for homeless people, a place of gathering for the neighbors. And what people have told us is that heat and the experience of heat is also an emotional thing. You feel less stressed and you feel better when you can be with people and help each other, contribute food, drinks in a place where you're not obliged to consume, like a bar or a restaurant that nowadays in the Raval, with all the gentrification and touristification pressures, it's almost impossible to find, a bar that you can have a refreshment without paying too much money. And so this urban garden is like a form of bottom-up resistance and bottom-up climate shelter that they have created. These are the stories that we're bringing to the table in this year's POLLEN conference at the end of June, beginning of July in Barcelona. So come join our panel, Living with the Weather.